Hey, yo, this is your boy DD from the closet. I'm the DM in the closet. I'm sitting and cruising in the closet. I'm not really cruising in the closet because how can you cruise in a closet? If you figure out how, let me know. All right, so today I'm drinking an iced Lord. Today I'm drinking an iced London fog. It is foggy and iced. What are you gonna do about it? So today I want to talk about something that is the plague of so many DMs. It's the thing that keeps us up at night. Not really. It's not that important. How do we keep our PCs engaged? How do we keep our friends, our colleagues, whoever, acquaintances, total strangers, whoever we're playing with, how do we keep them engaged with the game? And I think this is it's a simple problem, but also execution takes practice. It takes some practice to keep this going. Now, the place you want to start is with their characters. Yes, that sounds extremely obvious, but let's talk about it because sometimes the fundamentals are what we need to work on. Know their characters. They so often will make a backstory to fit in your world. Make sure you know that. Like, not even just like a little bit or you read it once. Make sure you understand it. If they name specific places in your world, take note of that. It doesn't hurt to keep like a PC log, if you will, in your DM notes. If they mention an event or a person that's in your world, glom onto it. Is that a glom? I'm gonna glom onto it. I think that's a phrase. I say it, so hopefully it is. I'm pretty sure I've heard other people say it. Glom onto it. So yes, knowing the PCs, what is their relationship with the atmosphere or the environment that your world is set in. If you do like what I do and you create a history, they have access to that and they might decide to put themselves in. They were in a war here. They were in this settlement when they first came across the mountains. They were a part of the first Olympic style games, something weird like that. So if they're feeding into your world, use that. It makes them happy. It makes it feel like they didn't waste their time making a backstory, and it should make you happy that they actually cared about your world to like write themselves into it. So know where they have put themselves in your world and use that as fodder for your quests and stuff. It's instant inspiration right there, and it's like the easiest way to get a PC engaged is to go down that hole that they've created and just explore their character, and so they can have a nice little character arc and go up the levels and come to magic and rainbows. So yes, knowing your PC's their place in your world. Second thing I would say, and I'm going to list 5 things because, I've got 5 things that you need to know right now. Click here, clickbait. Please subscribe, clickbait. Know the strengths and weaknesses, not only of the characters, but of your players. So we all know about, if your character's playing a wizard and all stuff, don't always throw them in situations where they can't, RP or use magic or something like that. But at the same time, don't always give them what they want. You have to challenge them. So it is a balance. It's a balancing act. Whoever would have thought that balance was good? In today's world, balance doesn't seem to be good. But in D&D, let's keep balance. But not only the characters, you need to know the strengths and weaknesses of your players themselves. Are they introverted? Are they extroverted? Do they prefer battle? Do they prefer RP? What are they personally bringing playstyle wise to the table? If they spend all their time building the character and maxing it out and all this stuff, they're going to want to play it in a battle situation. So don't take that away from them completely. Or if someone is more about the theatrics and the acting and the role playing and all that stuff, give them what they want. You're here to facilitate a good time, basically. Don't ever forget that. This isn't an exercise in vanity. these people are relying on you for a good time. They're investing a lot. They're investing a lot of time in it. You know, a session averages 3 hours at least. So yeah, make sure you are giving the players what they want, what their characters can deal with. That's engaging, but don't always make it. You don't always give in to them. So, like, especially if a large group, you're not going to be able to please everyone all the time. You just have to space it out and allocate the love around as much as you can. And the more familiar you are with your players and the players' characters, the easier that will become. And what's really interesting is if you can link the players together and get them all invested in one thing, and then you don't have to really care about, focusing on each one, because if they all are invested in one plot, if I keep waving my arm, I'm Italian, so, this is expected, right? Yeah, so know the strengths and weaknesses. Third on the list of the clickbaity, you must 5 things, number 3. Always take time to ask what people are doing. I feel like this sounds simple. It's really just a habit, and I think it's overlooked, and you'd be surprised the answers you'll get when you just ask people who are not immediately engaged with whatever you're doing. If you ask them what they're doing, a lot of times you will get, oh, I'm just hanging out, I'm not doing anything, the rogue's picking the door lock and I'm just back here, I don't have anything to do right now. But always ask. It doesn't hurt. It takes like 2 seconds to ask, what are you doing? 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 And you'll be surprised. Sometimes they come up with some good stuff. Sometimes they'll ask some questions. And that makes, every time you ask a question, you answer it well, that's further engagement into the story and the play. Yeah. So always, I find, this is just good life rule. You learn a lot more and people respect you a lot more if you ask them questions rather than, dealing out and saying, you take this or leave it, buddy. You'll find that you will have a much easier time, both in gameplay and in life, if you just take a step back and ask people what they're thinking, what they're doing. London fog. I'm sure that's like really great content every time I take a I really don't care if it's not great content. I love sipping beverages. It's a favorite pastime. I was thinking about making this channel all about, maybe I'll do a little playlist, and I'll do some drinks with DMDD. I don't think I'll make the drinks in the closet because that's a recipe for disaster. My wife will probably not be happy if I spill, sticky syrups and booze and stuff all over the. This is non-alcohol. This is just a straight London fog. Like that, tap, tap, tap. Okay, so that's simple thing. Ask what they're doing. Number 4 of the 5. Keep them on their toes. Fast pace always will keep, you can even, best example I can give, I homebrewed and I talked about this briefly kind of in my how to run big battles off map, theater of the mind, how to use percentile dice. I put this into my most recent practice of putting this into the game. Our last session, there was this great siege of a fort, and I had, it was basically, I took the mechanics of battle, their stats and everything, and I converted them to a percentile 1 through 100 chance. So all they did was roll their d10s. And there were multiple encounters, which were stages of the battle. They were defending this fortress, and there were different stages of defense depending on how they did. They were an outnumbered source of 600 defenders facing an army scaling the walls of about 2,500. And I actually kept a real timer of kills, and they would have to engage. I actually made a little mini game where they could perform heroics and get points, and every kill was a point. And some characters, they weren't there because they missed the last session, so I gave them a bunch of like one-off characters to play. So it was a lot of fun, and I think they had fun. They seem to be having fun. They could be just lying to me. But anyway, all that to say, the way I did it was to make sure that there were literally no breathers in battle. It was bam, bam, bam. I was so surprised, but at the same time, I wasn't surprised. I almost said you were surprised, like you were there. You were surprised. No, I was surprised that the pace we were going through rounds like that, because it's just you would be amazed at what just doing a percentile just cuts through all the crap. And basically what it is for the people who had their player characters, their attack bonuses, each number on a d20 is about 5%. So they time their attack bonus times 5, and then they would add that to a base of like 35 or something, and then that would be their percentage chance of hitting or killing, because they were one-off kills. No bashing some guy for 5 rounds and then finally killing him. It's a big, massive battle. They're one-offs, like we discussed before. But I didn't let them breathe at all. We were buzzing through it, and people were, it was, and you add a little role play in there, and it's like, you succeed on your attack, you manage to smack the elf off the high cliff or the wall, and he flies back and goes, my elfdom, or something like that. And that kind of stuff, it adds this kind of franticness, and really keeps the action going. I also didn't allow them to stay out of the battle. They were always engaged because they were coming over the walls, and I'm like, these people are on top of you. You can't do anything unless you're like are literally, I'm gonna run and hide. I was like, so they were always in combat. Every time they fell back to a different defense, I had them roll initiative again. The NPCs, both the defenders and the attackers, they always rolled at the end of initiative, and I would roll 2d20 for each, and plus some d6, depending on the circumstances that the players came up with, and that would be how many NPCs died on each side. But anyway, so it was just there's bodies flying everywhere, people dying, and fall back, and retreat. That's the same as fall back, but it sounds a little better. So, actually, it sounds a little worse. Fall back seems a little more organized. Anyway, so keeping that pacing up. Don't let them, stew and sit on something for a while. If they're in the middle of battle, they're, and if someone's taking too long with their turn, you don't have to necessarily skip them. You could just have chaotic things happen around them. It's like, well, you're deciding that a guy gets hit in the arrow in his face, and he's like, my face, something like that. Just really over the top stuff. It's entertaining. Sometimes it's just funny. But everyone was engaged. There was, of course, turns, and they're always engaged that way. But because the turns came so quickly, and the way it was structured was just a real streamlining of battle, everyone was really into what was happening. At least that's what they led me to believe. They could be lying to my face, virtually lying to my face, through virtualness. We actually didn't even have webcams. It was just over Discord. But anyway, theater of the mind. So keep them on their toes, fast paced. That keeps them on their toes and engaged. I feel like that was all very repetitive, but you get the point. Hopefully it was a little entertaining. Number 5. 5 things you can do to keep your PCs engaged. Number 5. That was also way too long. And I need a London fog, come save me, London fog. Don't be afraid of humor. It says it right here, folks, so I must have meant it. Humor sometimes is inappropriate, but at the same time, you always got to know, you have to be able to read the room. You have to know who your players are and what this goes back to rule 1. But unless you're playing with a dead person, everyone likes a bit of humor. And, those kinds of crazy things that happen, just, besides just what their ideas come up with, but like the kind of silly, like I was doing in the whole battle, so, they had an action where they could do heroics and they would save someone, and it would be in this really ridiculous way. And I was like, you see an elf, he's kicking a person in the butt. He's just kicking him in the butt over and over again. And then they go save them, and everyone was laughing, and it was entertainment. Believe it or not, boys and girls, this is a game. And games can be entertaining. You can have a laugh. You can have a laugh and enjoy yourself. And I find people are much more happy to play a game that makes them laugh. Not to say it has to devolve into just basically anything but D&D, but don't take it too seriously. Because if you take it seriously all the time, your serious moments are lost. And I've found that I've had great response in my campaign because people knew when serious stuff was happening, and they knew when things were a bit more lighthearted and downright absurd. Like I had this, my one player, he was being he's chaotic neutral, and I guess he's playing it. He was doing some stuff, and I made this character who was a little gnome child who just basically went up to him and called him a little bitch, and that's all he did. And my player, he was going, oh, I hate this kid so much, but it was hilarious, and he thought it was funny too, and he was having this moral quandary. He's like, I can't kick the kid. Even though he's chaotic neutral, I guess he could have kicked the kid if he wanted to, but he's a good person, so he didn't. The player didn't want to do that. But it was just kind of this funny moment, and the kid just kind of pops up in random places, like countries away, and they're like at an auction, and the kid's at the auction too, and they're like, why are you here? So little things like that you don't have, and the way you can get this in well, like kind of know when to use it, is to make those comedic characters, so when this character's in, funny stuff is about to happen. Or I don't recommend this if you're about to do major plot or lore dumps or something like that, because then people don't listen. So humor comes in more inconsequential moments, more kind of downtime RP, or in the midst of battle where they're fighting minions who don't matter or anything like that. And you can, and again, you have to know your audience. Maybe people want serious battle all the time because it's war. But I don't think most people out there playing the game really want a total deadpan experience. So that was my 5. Click on it. Click here. 5. Click it. Click bait. You've been baited. So those are my 5 ways to keep PCs more involved, more engaged. If you like what I had to say, give me a like. Give me a subscribe. If you don't like what I have to say, give me a like. Give me a subscribe. I love talking in the comments. So comment away. Tell me how you have had success keeping your players engaged. Tell me where you had failures, and maybe we can talk about that. We can get something working out, maybe. But thank you so much, guys, for watching my humble channel. Peace.